All right, everyone. Thank you once again for joining. Did you know the ESCO HVAC show? We're so grateful to be here. We're getting so pumped up. We got our conference starting on Sunday. Some of our team is actually already headed out there to start getting things prepared and get set up for over 1,100 people showing up, HVACR professionals from all over the country. We've got some from Canada joining us. So we're going to be gathering to learn about the technologies and transitions that are happening in the industry. And that's really what we're here to do today, is to talk about changes in technologies and transitions that we all need to be prepared for. So thank you all for joining us, and let us know where you're joining from. I'm here in Brownsburg, Indiana, and we're being joined today by Shelby Breger. How are you doing, Shelby?
I am doing well. It's nice to see you.
So much fun hanging out. We did a podcast here a couple months ago talking about things in the industry, and you are at the heart of a transition in our industry that I'm very excited to learn about, but also a little bit nervous at the same time. So when we start talking about load calculations and then the move on into duct design, a lot of us are very intimidated by that because we've learned on older patterns. I take like myself. So I'm going to date myself here, okay? So I learned how to do load calculations on carbon copy and pencil way back in the days. And then I moved into the service side of our industry. I spent almost my entire career in the field on the service side and didn't do a lot with load calculations. We'd have some custom homes every once in a while. So I was still doing my old school, take me a couple hours to do a load calculation. And that's really been my perspective. Even when I started teaching it in the class, I really wasn't great. I was okay at it. And so a lot of times in our educational programs, we struggle with load calculation because it just may not be the most comfortable thing. It's not like we're working on a piece of equipment that we worked on for years and we know it inside and out. Now, there are some that are very good with the load calculations, but not all of us. So when we talk about tools and innovations, technology, it's kind of overcome our world, hasn't it, Shelby?
It has, but not to a level that is overwhelming yet. I think there's still so much opportunity in every industry, especially HVAC, to really support people in the field. Because when you look at what's out there in supporting healthcare professionals or supporting other industries, every single workflow that they do has some sort of technology supporting. And when you look at HVAC, there's so much opportunity to do the same thing. And there's been such a wave of awesome innovation to support that. But I think there's a long way to go. This is the beauty of this trade, is that nothing's going to replace that person in the field doing this work, but it's about supporting and augmenting their capacity.
Yeah, using tools. I mean, I'm a tool junkie. If there's a tool that makes my job easier, I'm all about it. So when digital manifold gauges came around, I was like, oh yeah, this is helping me. This is calculating superheat and subcooling quickly, and I can work on a variety of refrigerants. I can just punch a button, and boom, I'm there. And then I started having apps to look up, my service manuals, because a lot of times their service manuals aren't in the piece of equipment, or it's hard to read even all from the model numbers. And so we got applications that just make our life easier. Now, for our educators in the programs, especially in our vocational programs, we are limited by time. If we step back 20 years ago, we probably had 2,000 hours to accomplish a program. Now we may only have 1,200 or sometimes even as low as 750. So we have to utilize our time as good as possible. And I think really the only way we're going to be able to reduce our need for technicians, we're always going to have a need, but it's pretty significant right now. The way that we can reduce that, the way that we can help our industry, is to upskill everyone in the industry and help make them a little bit faster. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about Conduit Tech a little bit. So Shelby, before we get into the presentation, tell us a little bit about how Conduit Tech evolved in your side of the industry.
Absolutely. So Conduit Tech came from first just a year of research. My now co-founder and I met, and we were wondering, what can we do to accelerate this vague concept of residential energy efficiency?
Mhm.
And the deeper that we dove into this, the more we realized how challenging it is for HVAC professionals to be able to sell more efficient equipment, to then install it, make sure the systems align with the ductwork, get everything lined up, and then communicate all of that to the homeowner. And the homeowner, on the other hand, doesn't really think about many of these details until once every 10 to 15 years, where they absolutely need to. And so what we started to think about was, okay, this is, a problem that is challenging. How can we make this a win-win for everyone? Because it should be on the surface, right? It should
Mhm.
absolutely be a win for homeowners to adopt more efficient equipment, contractors to sell more efficient equipment, and then for our grid for it to be more stable. But the more we learned, the more we realized that there are so many other things going around in the mind of an HVAC professional every single day. And this is where we started to really focus in. We kept talking to folks and they would say, we spoke to hundreds of contractors before we even started the company, just
Hmm.
ask what's on your mind? What are some of the biggest challenges? And what we observed was this huge tenacity of, well, we've always made do. We can make do with what we have. But the deeper that I dove, the more I was like, no, 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 really, tell me what's really painful in this job. And it's like, well,
Hmm.
hard to resource our teams well. We're constantly having new team members join. It's hard to find people with experience. It's challenging to be able to communicate to homeowners and sell high efficiency equipment. It's challenging to get all of the pieces done for a permit. It's challenging to make sure that you can design the right system and make sure there's no callbacks. There were so many pieces that were challenging, and I can't say that we at Conduit solved them all. But one thing that we realized is there's so much opportunities to support the professionals in the field, but it doesn't surface until you dive really deeply in those conversations. So maybe that's a great segue to some of the themes that we kept hearing, which
Sure.
was summarized as like this ongoing need for design and commissioning. I think
Oh,
this is
man.
something we talked about quite a bit actually
Mhm.
on the Measure Quick webinars. Is the
Mhm.
equipment is changing so much that it's not just about design, but it's also about how do you commission it. The second is it's not just about the equipment and the refrigerant changes, which you'll see as the third one that are upcoming, but it's also that there's a shift in consumer demands and then regulatory pushes towards heat pumps and more efficient equipment, tighter homes. All of that is actually changing what our design process looks like and what our system selling process looks like and how we communicate all of that to the homeowner. So the more we dove into these changes, the more opportunity we saw to really support the contractor every step of the way.
Yeah, all three of those topics we're actually going to be discussing with members of the Department of Energy and a variety of their different partner associations at our conference. Explaining from a very high level that our industry is moving very rapidly and we all have our own duty to stay up to date with what is changing. So, everything you're saying here is going to be completely validated going forward.
Absolutely. And for us, what we've focused in on is really the system design piece. We
Mhm.
started with what's the one area we can start with and support, because we don't want to do many things poorly. We want to do one thing to start off with really well, and then keep doing other things really well.
Mm.
And that's where we started focusing in on is how can you build value around your system design process. We spoke to so many people who are like, one, it's hard to get my technicians to learn a load calculation process, but even if they did, we couldn't spend 2 hours on every single job we do running a load. And it makes complete sense. Actually, I'm just seeing this comment on the screen right now and I can't help but read it. I have to relearn every time. And it's absolutely so true. I went to an 8 hour training on one of the older software programs out there, and I left being able to create a floor plan. And it was a great floor plan, but it's really hard to remember and all the motions, both in the software and then the theory. You need both. But being able to tie them together well is so challenging. And not only is there that like technical, like what are your tools to do this piece of this, but it is also a question of what can you do to be able to showcase this to the homeowner? Because often that
Absolutely.
work that's being done on a desktop computer is the homeowner's not seeing it. They're really lucky that you're doing that work for them, but they're not
Yeah.
seeing it.
Yeah.
So it's
They're not
absolutely
sitting in front of you at 2 o'clock in the morning when you finally finish it.
no, 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 no. Yeah, it's mind-boggling.
Mhm. Okay, fantastic. And everyone joining, we have a great group today. Please let us know if you have some questions along the way. We'll be happy to answer some questions. We're going to be doing a live demo here in just a little while to show you exactly what we're talking about. There's a lot happening here that is going to be unpacked and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's this simple and that we're using my phone and technology in it. So, yeah, you're going to be very intrigued here.
Absolutely. And so delivering on that, so technology can not only help you deliver on the quality, the work that you want to do, but it can also engage your customer as you go.
Mm.
And so that's what we'll focus on today. Load calculations as a tool to drive customer engagement, the quality work that you're committed to, as well as sales. And I think one thing that I wanted to highlight to tee up load calculations as a tool, not just for your quality work, but also as a sales tool, is it's a mechanism to do all of the things that are on the left side of the screen that you often want to do when you're making a sale. It's time and data to build trust and rapport. It's a new tool to communicate what your value is when somebody's never thought about how different their HVAC professionals can be, and how high quality the work can be done. The third is that it's a customer first mentality. It's all about showing deep customization, right? Everyone here knows that every home is a little bit different. It all has their little nuances. Even if they were once cookie cutter homes in the same neighborhood, some of them have been updated, some of them haven't. It's always about how do you customize that homeowner experience. And how do you think about that when you're both thinking about closing a new install opportunity or highlighting your commitment to that quality? And this is where we see load calculations playing a role across the board. It not only gives you a reason to spend time on site, but it is a reason to spend time on site. It is a way to frame the pain points in an understandable way to the customer. And I think about this all the time. I'm in this room right now, which like starting in a couple months, it's going to get really uncomfortable here at about 4:45 p.m. because it's a west-facing window. It's quite large. I live in South Florida. And what will happen is it's going to get very hot in here because we have undersized ductwork and we have a single stage oversized system. And once you start to piece this all together and you talk to the homeowner, you're like, oh, that room's really uncomfortable. You know, it doesn't have to be that way. Let's talk about what your system was, what it is today, and how we can design a really amazing solution for you. It's not just plug and play. You all know that far better than I do. It's about designing the right solution and then implementing it, because there is a lot of craftsmanship that goes into each one of these.
That data is a crucial tool, especially when we start talking about value propositions for our consumers. You know, in a short period of time, we can actually evaluate a structure and go, I'm sure you've probably gotten some estimates, and you've got an existing 3-ton. You've probably been given some estimates on 3 tons, but did you know that you actually only need a 2.5 ton for this system? Have you done any major improvements to this home because your load calculation is significantly reduced than what you already have? And they go, oh yeah, actually I put insulation, I replaced windows and doors, and go, so did anyone else do a load calculation while they're here and realize that you're actually oversized now and that's part of your problems? And they go, tell me more. That's value.
Absolutely. Yes. And it's numbers at your fingertips, and it's talking to their pain points. And ultimately, that's what everyone in this community is doing, is they're highlighting those pain points. But it's what are some of the data points to back that up and to make it a little bit more understandable for the homeowner and bring that to the forefront for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking my language.
Well, even more so, building value by explaining load calculations. So we talked a little bit about some of this. The first piece is ensuring that the new system accounts for any changes made to the home, just as you were saying. Second is ensuring the equipment is appropriately sized in the first place. This building that I live in was built a couple years ago, and it definitely was never appropriately sized, and that's okay. Well, it's a little uncomfortable, which leads to point number 3, increased comfort. A lot of folks think about comfort. We all know that selling comfort does matter. And with comfort comes efficiency very often as well.
Absolutely.
But really explaining, what is this lived experience supposed to be? Is your air conditioning unit supposed to run for 5 minutes every hour? Probably not, especially if you're in a humid climate. Well, actually, I can say definitely not. And that leads to the last piece, which is dehumidification. So I think all the time about my own home, where we have, I'll set my thermostat in the cold, dark hallway till 73 degrees. And if I let it go any higher than that, I actually have water sensors in my apartment that will go off telling me that my humidity is too high, because at anything higher in temperature than 73 degrees, I don't have enough dehumidification capacity because my system isn't running for long enough. And it's always fun to observe this, mostly because I'm a nerd about this topic now.
Right. Understand.
But a little less fun if I weren't so excited about load calculations.
Yeah, indeed.
So this is what brings me to what Conduit is, and we'll do a short, quick demo about it. But what is the goal? Our goal is to help you sell on site using load calculations, use it as a customer engagement tool, and also get that quality work done. It's about showcasing that work that you're doing in that design process and in that proposal and sales process. It's about using the custom images of the home to showcase to the homeowner, this is what your home is like. These are the rooms that we want to address. Here's how we're going to do so with proper system design. And then
Hmm.
lastly, being able to communicate that with your install team. I was talking to somebody today who's like, I've just been waiting for this to be able to hand this over to my install team. Here's what you're walking into. Here's the model of the home. Here's the layout of what this looks like. Here's where we want to place these units. Let's go. And that is one of the things that we are constantly building towards, is how do we ensure that we are helping set up the person who's in the home designing that system, and how do we help set up that person who's installing the system as well and help support that handoff. We're continuously building out more tooling and more reporting to support that.
Ray made a good point a while ago. There was a time where you did this with graph paper and a ruler and pencils and pens. And I'm very intrigued. So what kind of technology are we talking about here? Are we talking about buying new tools and equipment to be able to do this? Or how are we creating this type of almost 3D animation?
Absolutely. So we'll get to that actually now, which is we're using devices that you already are using in the field. So the more sophisticated ones being iPad Pros or iPhone
Mhm.
Pros. What
Mhm.
that Pro really means is that it has better camera technology as part of it.
Sure.
And in that is a LiDAR sensor. And a LiDAR sensor stands for light detection and ranging. It's used in a whole range of applications, self-driving cars, all kinds of interesting stuff. Somebody was telling me they use it for road planning, things like that, but it is a precise tool for measurement. And the ones, if you have an iPhone Pro, a recent iPhone Pro in your pocket, you already have LiDAR available. Exactly. You are able to use that to be able to form like these augmented reality worlds. And the way that this works is it's sending light beams out from the back of the camera, measuring how long it takes to bounce off, and take the time that it takes to come back. Uses that time that it takes to come back as its form of determining how far that point is from where you are. And it's sending these light beams out so many times per minute that it's using that to map out the entire structure as you go. It's wild.
That's
And as
crazy.
Yeah,
Joe actually just made a comment. Yes, yes, Joe. There was a time where I'd stand at the van and go, it's, it's probably 60 feet. It's about 40, and it's about a 612, maybe. Yeah, Joe, there were definitely times where I didn't even imagine to have technology like this. So we've entered a very interesting place in our world. We're already using tools for tracking our jobs. We're using tools for tracking our measurements on our refrigeration system and our temperatures and our pressures. Why wouldn't we want to use the technology that's already in things that we may have in our hands? All right,
absolutely.
got me curious.
No, let's do it. Well, I think there's no better segue to our demo than this.
Okay, well, we'll do that. I will bring these out of here and we'll bring in a video demo and kind of walk us through so we can see. Yes, I'm old school. Yes. All right, so let's walk us through. We'll see what we've got here. I think we're playing. I think. Hold on. Let me hit the play button. All right, let's bring that one up separate. There we go. Okay.
Fabulous. So what we're going to take you through is a recorded video of what the platform looks like today, which you'll see right
Mhm.
here. We got a list of all of the jobs that have been recently done in this portal. And you can visit and review, edit any existing job. You can always go back in time and adjust projects that you've already been to. But what we're going to do is we're going to build a job from a template. And what it's going to do is it's going to start by selecting the template based off of where you put your address in. And so these templates are options. We have 3 ways to start a job. You can start from our job wizard, start from scratch, or start from a template. But the template is the opportunity to type in the address and then pull in a template that's available. So I'm going to start off by typing in a job address. And what we're going to do is make sure we get consent from the homeowner before we continue, just to make sure, we're not taking any photos or videos. We're just capturing dimension data before we move on and then pull in a template. And apologies if it's a little blurry. It's showing a little oddly on my end, but that is okay. This would otherwise be an eyesight test anyways.
Right.
So we pull in our template, which is going to pre-populate some of our variables here. What it's going to do is it's going to predefine our walls, windows, doors, floors, floors, ceilings. And I've essentially created these templates, which any team can do, to define what's most common in my area, either by time period, by floor type, etc. And we're also going to pull in ASHRAE design data, which you just saw in that pop-up, our infiltration levels right off the bat based off of age. But all of this, we're pulling in information from both property data and ASHRAE 2021 design data so that we can start from the most informed position when we start a job. So we're pre-populating as much as possible, but you can update everything. So you can get as granular as you want before you start scanning. And you can always go back and change it too, which is the fun part. You can always go back and say, we added insulation to the ceiling. Now let's go back and let's actually see what this does to our load.
Oh man, yeah, this is a before and after. Amazing tool.
Exactly.
Ooh.
And so this is just going to be a quick clip of what it's like to scan. This will just be a scan of one room. What you do is you start by creating a visual of one wall. And then as soon as you have that next wall, you keep moving around and you see it moves quite quickly and starts to map out as you go with those white lines populating, that 3D model populating at the bottom. And now you're done. So you can accept, you could redo this if you wanted to before moving on. You can go very fast. So it takes me about 10 seconds to do the room I'm in, which is about the same size as that one that you just saw, before we move ahead.
That's crazy.
Absolutely. So a 2,100 square foot home, going to take about 5 minutes to scan at most.
Okay. I should have tried it before, but I probably...
You'll try it after.
Yeah, I wanted to wait because I wanted to walk into it like everyone else is walking in right now. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there going, are you for real?
Absolutely. Well, then the last piece is you have your reports. So you have both a customer facing report and an ACA certified manual J report, but we got our 3D model, our 2D floor plan, and our loads. And then on our manual J report, you'll see the wonderful powered by ACA manual J logo at the top and all of our summary details.
Are you serious?
Yes, indeed. I take no credit for it, though. That is just our incredible engineering team that drove that forward.
Okay. There's going to be a lot of... I've already got... Ray's got a good one. So like windows. So it's when you're going across a wall, it's actually looking at probably reflections through the glasses and it's validating like dimensions of windows.
Absolutely. So it is, as you are scanning, what's happening is it's capturing the dimensions of windows, and it's also capturing the orientation because there's actually a compass in your iPhone, in your iPad. There's already those compasses embedded in those devices. Yeah. So we're mapping the two together. And so what we're doing is we're using your input that is really critical, which is what is the materials of that structure? Is it double paned? Is it triple paned? Is it, is it low E? What is the window structure? That's the part that only the professional can do for now. Technology isn't smart enough yet.
No. I mean, there's no way that well, I'm sure at some
point.
Maybe
one day.
Right.
But we'll give you the assumptions and defaults based off of age. You update them. And then all you need to do is scan that window. We'll map the orientation, the sizes, and those window attributes all together for you.
I was going to see if I can rewind this real quick. And I think I might be having some internet issues. Yeah, I mean, isn't that crazy, Murph? I mean, I was in there hitting that too, Daniel. Sorry about that. So it makes sense that we got a gyroscope in it already. Why not utilize that as we're walking around? So orientation is really kind of maximized now. Because I've seen some early technology that could do some LiDAR mapping, but it wasn't very accurate. It had to be on a tripod, had to be very balanced. It was... not a easy system to work with.
No, it certainly was not. And I think the other thing is that it was expensive, right?
Yeah.
Matterport is a phenomenal company that builds some really cool technology, but it's not every day can someone afford a $3,000 device that they carry around with them. And we all make the choice to buy, the $900 iPhone that we finance through our cellular companies. But that's the one that we already are making the choice to buy. And I think that's where we saw a huge opportunity is built for the technology we're already carrying in our pockets. And
hi, this is Chris.
The most use of it.
Absolutely. I got to go back and I got to watch that again if I could bring this up because that was quite intriguing. All right. While I'm trying to bring this up, any questions out there that you would like to ask Shelby? Because I've got plenty going through my brain, but I actually want to see that thing in action again because that was incredibly intriguing to see how we're simply using modern technology in our phones, in our iPads, to be able to do LiDAR scanning of our rooms. All right, I think it was past here just a little bit. All right, and so we are app-based, Shelby?
We are app-based, exactly. So you leverage just an app download on an iPad Pro right now. We are releasing an iPhone version soon, but this enables you to be able to scan that structure using those devices that are already applicable. And somebody just asked in the chat,
Yeah.
ceiling height. Yes, we're capturing ceiling height. So one of the things that you may have noticed in that motion is that we were pointing up and down the camera lens. And when you point
I
up and
did.
down that camera lens, what's happening is it's capturing the top to the bottom of that structure. So if you have multiple ceiling heights, it'll capture that too, but it's capturing that. So you're also getting volume as you go.
Okay. I think I might be back there. Yeah. There's a good question. All right. And we don't have to get in that if we don't want to, at least be able to direct people to learn the resources. That's entirely up to you. All right, here we go.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's what we're doing then. So in that device perimeter, so it's actually showing you where to use your camera in that vicinity.
Absolutely. So it's going to coach you to create that first wall. And that's what I always do when we're training our users how to
Yeah.
get comfortable with scanning is you want to create like one wall. So you want to start from top to bottom and then you want to create the rest of that wall, move it around the room. And that's what you're seeing in this video here too is first she creates one wall and then as soon as that wall is done, you keep moving. And then you keep mapping as you go.
All right, now let's say we had a like a tray ceiling or a cathedral ceiling. Does it actually look for the separate lines and heights of those as well?
It does. So it does look for the separate heights. It does
Uh-huh.
assume, as of right now, it assumes that it's a flat ceiling height. But what it's going to do
Yeah.
is it's going to take the average between the highest and the lowest ceiling
Mhm.
heights. And then what we have built out in our platform is the ability to then go back in and manually adjust it and calculate the appropriate surface areas and volumes if you want to get that precise. We know a lot of
Ye
folks like to stick with average ceiling height as their method, which
Yes.
is the default. But if not, and you want to get quite precise about the surface area of that ceiling, as well as the very precise, like here's, the top, this is the peak, this is, it's 10 feet, it's 17 feet, you can always override as well in the platform.
Okay. So we're now to a point then we can do a complete evaluation of a structure in I seen that original slide that said in under 15 minutes. And I think that's very realistic. In 15 minutes, we can evaluate and design a calculation for a home.
Absolutely. It's the
Hmm.
vast majority of our projects are completed in 15 minutes or less. We have some users who never take more than 5 minutes. We have some users who like to take the full 15. But what we find is that it really just comes down to how much, do you want to detail every single window to be however precise it is with whatever other details you may want? If you have many building materials, you can add as many as you want, but you don't have to. And so it's about what the level of granularity that people pursue, but really the scanning takes about 5 minutes for 2,100 square feet and you're good to go.
And I noticed when you're going through the different files, so this has now become a shareable file that you could send to homeowners, you could send to other members of your team, engineering, anyone that is interested in looking at what those actual dimensions are. So even from a technician, if I wanted to do a scan and send it back to my company for evaluation, it's that easy just to share a, a file.
Absolutely. So it will right now share as a PDF. Is the first way that you can use right off the bat. So you'll share it as a PDF. That's the first way that you can do it. And then the other thing that you can always do is go back and edit it thereafter, and then change it from within the application. That's how it works right now. Is you edit it directly from within the application, but you can then always change those results that you get, and you can always immediately send the PDF results as soon as you're done.
Okay, so like Joe was asking about adding additional people, essentially you're really just adding additional heat loads. So we could manually go in and add our heat loads for additional people. So we can show it as an empty space or an occupied space, either one.
You could. What I will say is, somebody mentioned that this is thinking about a church. One of the
Hmm.
things that this is designed for is residential and light commercial buildings. So once you start getting into something that's going to be, 7,000, 10,000 square feet with really, really tall ceilings, one of the challenges that I'll be transparent about is that your sensors are only so powerful. And so they like to
True.
be about 5 to 15 feet away from your closest wall. And so once you get into some of those bigger structures, depending on what type of church, if we're talking about an old school 1950s church, or if we're talking about one of the really large ones, a really large one, maybe not as perfect, but it is something that I would say is really designed for some of those residential and light commercial structures.
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly in our residential. I mean, I think about this, going forward, we're going to be spending a lot of time talking about inverter technology. We're going to have a lot of IRA incentives that are going to encourage homeowners to improve the performance of their structures. So, window and door incentives, insulation incentives, heat pump incentives. And so we have the opportunity to look at structures and reevaluate what those load conditions are to be able to get an optimal size equipment. So it changes the amount of time that it would take for us to evaluate what a structure is. And so I see it from two different perspectives. I see it as an incredible tool for a residential contractor, but I also see this as an amazing tool for a classroom. Could you imagine preparing your technicians who already know technology, your students who already know technology inside and out, and go, by the way, we're going to help you understand these structures when you get to the workforce? You're going to have a tool that everyone around you is going to go, wait a minute, where did you learn that? I want to know what that's about. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have to continue that conversation and do some demonstrations. I'm gonna have to do a live demo of this sometime, because
Please.
yeah,
Yes.
you've really got me intrigued because I think about it from the educator perspective, going, okay, if I want to teach load calculations, this is the way that you do it. You save time, you use innovation. Okay, all right, I like it.
And that's the thing though, it doesn't obviate the need for theory, right? We still
Mhm.
wanna train on how do you evaluate the building envelope? How do you make sure that you're updating the right inputs, the part that only you as the professional in the field can do? And I think that's where we see this is really similar to the topic we were talking about at the very beginning is it's all about enabling the person in the field to feel confident doing the work that they wanna do. And it's a tool to augment more than anything else. But I think that it's for us, we love when educators use our platform because we
Yeah.
get to show, look, you can do this high quality work that you want to get done for your customer, but it doesn't have to come at the cost of your time and your ability to serve as many customers as you need to, because it's simple enough and fast enough that you can do on site.
Okay. Is there any other slides? I know we went through. Did we go through all of your slides, or things
We
that you still want to share and go over?
we cruised through them.
Okay. Wow. We're so excited to get to the demo.
Yes, we were.
All right, Shelby, let's talk about resources for connecting with Conduit Tech because there's going to be a lot of people wanting to know what are their opportunities. So I am going to share a couple different things with everyone. It's going to take you to the same place. So if you grab that QR, it will take you over to the Conduit Tech website, which I've got listed on the bottom. Let's talk about how to get connected with Conduit Tech. We're definitely going to start at the website. What are we going to find at the website?
Absolutely. So on their website, you'll find information all about the platform. You will also find a ton of resources about load calculations, about different sort of webinars, different things that have been offered in the past. And then what you'll also have the opportunity, if you want to, is to book a full demo. So if this little demo opened up more questions for you than it answered, we can go over any of those details that you have questions about while you're in the home. So absolutely, I would say book a demo, learn from our team. We'll walk you through it and make sure all of your questions are answered is probably the best way. Although you can also reach out to us directly if you want to ask questions at info@getconduit.com. That will also be listed on our website on the contact us page.
Okay, and that is a good question that came in, Ray. Is since it's using Geot Tracking, is it also showing like on our walls and on our design the directions?
Absolutely. So when you are scanning, it's going to show at the top where you're scanning, what
Mhm.
direction we are capturing as you scan. So we're going to pull in the orientation. You're also going to see that on the manual J report. When you look at it, you'll see the orientation of each of the area of each window. So you'll see all your north windows. You'll see the total area of all those windows grouped on that as well.
Okay, I was thinking I wanted to run over to the site just to be able to show it because I was skimming through some things earlier. Still got plenty of time here if anyone has any other questions, or Shelby, you want to talk about any other components that we haven't covered yet?
What I will say is that we're continuing to build out and we continue to seek feedback on what people want as the next sort of step in this process. For us, it was so critical to get ACA certified because we work with so many contractors in states. I believe there's 29 of them where ACA Manual J is the standard for those building permits. But we are continuously building out the features and functionality that we add onto the platform, including new visualization tools to help envision where a mini split might go in on your walls, comfort surveys that are
Ooh.
built into the platform. So we have tons of new tools that we're continuously releasing to really help the professional in the field stand out on site, but also show to the homeowner what it really is going to be like when they come in and install.
Yeah, I love the idea because we're going to see a lot of ductless applications. So now you're working very closely with ACA. So this is our home page. And I noticed on there that you have the announcement for the press release. So tell me about that integration, if there's a little bit more. I know we've mentioned it a few times, but how the software actually integrates into our ACA program.
Yes. So what we did is well, I say we, but it was our incredible engineering team built over 200 product features to be able to submit for ACA certification. And what that meant was our team became an expert at reading the Manual J textbook and really translating those words into code. And what we now have gone through a rigorous process with the ACA team, and we are super grateful because we received the Powered by Manual J approval from ACA, so that all of our reports are certified. And so that means that when you are submitting for a rebate in places like New York,
Yeah.
Massachusetts, Colorado, California, you can use our reporting. And it also means that in places where you're just submitting your local permit for your retrofit project, you can also do that as well. And you can use the outputs of this report as part of that because it will be compliant. And that was one thing we really realized from our early customers was how valuable that would be to them.
Yeah, that is definitely a big tool going forward is being able to implement that directly into that process because we're going to see a lot more things from ACA, especially when we talk about quality installations. And so now we actually have a validated software we can just upload right into it.
Absolutely.
Paul had a good question too. Is so we seen the demo of how we're bringing all the walls in the rooms into the structures. Does it automatically integrate, or do we have to manually integrate the rooms into the final um, 3D
Good
animation?
question. We merge them all for you. So
Hmm.
you would scan each room. If I were scanning this apartment, I'd scan this room, then I'd scan the next room. I'd scan them all as separate rooms. That's probably going to be the most accurate, though you can scan multiple rooms at a time. But I'd scan all those rooms separately, and then I'd hit merge, and they'd all merge together for me. So they'd create one full floor plan at once.
Okay. Now, do you have a list of tools, of phones and tablets that are capable of doing this?
Yes, I do. I only have it in email form, but I really should put it
Okay.
on the website. So that is a great learning for me. But if anyone is curious, I can comment them in the show notes, and I can also share them directly if anyone is curious about learning more.
Definitely. Yeah, Ray, that is such a good point to discuss is that, if you're in my state of Indiana, we don't have HVAC license. We have a few cities that have license, and very rarely is there an inspection. But there are states and there are cities that do require manual J reports when we're doing system retrofits and system designs. So we all know how much time it takes if we're manually doing that. Now it's a tool to completely reduce our time on these system replacements and system installations.
Absolutely.
Okay, that is a lot of stuff to go through. So Is there any other final questions out there? I did have a special guest that was going to be joining us about this time to talk about a couple things at the conference. Let me do that real quick. Let's talk about what's going on at the conference. So starting on Sunday, we have the National HVACR Education Conference in Las Vegas. We've got just over 1,100 people that are going to be joining in to learn about technologies and innovations, where the industry is going. I mentioned before, we've got DOE. It's going to be discussing the different ways that our industry is changing. And then we're also going to be talking with our equipment manufacturers. We have a lot of equipment on hand to see where the industry is moving to and where our programs need to be. And this fits right into this entire agenda. I see Toffee Coleman joining us in. Let me see if we can get Toffee in here real quick. Toffee, can you hear us?
I can. Good
How are
morning. Good
you?
afternoon, everyone.
Yeah. How are you doing today?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. It's starting to be spring here in Seattle, so I'm excited about that. Longer days are coming ahead, so we're happy about that.
Exactly. Now, Toffee, are you going to be joining us at the conference?
I sure will. Flying in on Sunday, and I'll be there all the way through the conference until Tuesday night. Looking forward to showing our latest tools and resources for educators at the conference, and just interacting with you all and hearing what's new and how we can support you in your training needs.
Definitely. Definitely. All right. And any promos, anything we want to talk about there, Toffee, for the conference?
Yeah, so as usual, we'll and let me just tell you where our booth is. We're booth number 407.
Okay.
And we'll have our Fluke standard products like our meters, clamps, what you all pretty much have known us for. But we'll also have some of our AmPro products as well. I think a lot of people forget that AmPro is a Fluke company, and
Oh,
so
yeah.
you're getting the same technology when you get an AmPro and a Fluke tool. We'll have information on our discount program that we provide to educators. We offer a 25% tool discount on pretty much the whole Fluke catalog of tools that you can purchase through any of our distribution partners, which some of them will be at the show. So you'll get to learn more about that process. We'll be promoting some of our resources that we have available, our free online courses such as motors and drives, digital multimeter basics, and more. This is all free. So we'll have information on those classes available. We'll also have some of our product specialists there to answer any of your questions around, how to use certain meters or clamps or tools. And then also we'll be giving away some good swag, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. You'll have to come to the booth and see what it
All
is.
right. I like it. All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Got to learn about new technologies. We're going to see some more at the conference. I think that's about a wrap for the day. Any departing words as we prepare for this exciting next few days, almost like 4 days of education?
I see some comments. From my side, I would say www.fluke.com/educators is our website where you can learn about our program and resources available. And just that, have a good time, network. I always tell people that, there's so many different needs and we're here to help you. So don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to say what you need and ask for support because it's always a yes. It's just a matter of what. So don't be afraid to come up and ask questions and see how well we can do to support your needs. So.
All right. Sounds good. Look forward to seeing you there. Shelby, I can't wait to see you in the near future sometime at a show, do some more demos. 'Cause I've got to test this out. We might have to do like a live walkthrough sometime soon. I see that one coming.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us once again on Did You Know, the ESCO HVAC show. I think we're going to take next Thursday off since we're going to be at the conference and it's going to be crazy. People will be flying back. So we're going to take one for a break and then we will see you all the following week here at Did You Know, the ESCO HVAC show. Bye, everybody.